Okay, today we're going to be learning the first Mishnah in the second Mishnah, in the first parak of Mesechet Brachos. Just to review before we start the Mishnah itself, a couple of terminologies. There are different parts of a Mishnah, and we're going to color code as we go by the different statements based on what that statement is. So let's review. The green box is going to represent a mikra, or a case. The purpose of a Mishnah is to teach us about a specific case, a certain scenario. What happened? The next box, the red box, is going to be representing the din. What is the rule in that case? And we'll find many times that there's a machlokes, or an argument, about this specific case. The third type of statement is going to be marked by the blue circle, the omer, the who is saying that this is the rule. Sometimes we will see that there's a specific rabbi quoted, and we'll mark that in blue circle. Other times, which is quite often, the Mishnah won't quote a specific Tana, a specific rabbi, and we will refer to him as either the Tanakama, literally the first Tana, or the Rabbanan, the rabbis in general. So they're interchangeable. The last type of statement we're going to see in a Mishnah is going to be represented by a yellow circle, which is going to be a reason for the above rule, for the above case. And sometimes the Mishnah gives a reason, sometimes it doesn't. And with that, let us turn to our Mishnah. So the Mishnah starts the following: Me'imasai kohen es Shema b'shacharis. From what time can one read the Shema? In the morning. So that is our case. We want to know. The case is, you are ready to say Shema. What is the earliest time you can say Shema? So we're going to have a rule. So Mishayakir, when from the time you can recognize or tell the difference between bein tcheles lelavan, between tcheles, which is the color blue, lelavan, to white. So at the moment in time in the morning when you can differentiate, there's enough light to differentiate between white and blue, then you know it is time to say Shema. Why did they pick these? Well, before that, this is the opinion. That's the first opinion. That's the Tanakama. Now, why did they pick those colors? So it's very simple. There's a mitzvah to wear tzitzis, and they're included in that mitzvah is that you should have some white strings and some blue strings called tcheles, or one blue string called tcheles. So everyone wore these tzitzis, and therefore it was very easy to determine. Look down, and you see if you can differentiate between your strings or not. Another thing to remember is that back then there were no artificial lights. Though you didn't just turn on the light. If there was light outside, then you could tell. If there wasn't light outside, there wasn't really light in your house either. So that was a very easy way to determine whether there was beginning to be light outside. And the basic time period is that this is what we call dawn, when you first are able to begin to see light. So that's the first opinion. Now we're going to have a second opinion. Someone's going to argue. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, so we're going to mark that with a circle. Rabbi Eliezer says, Bein tcheles likarti. So he argues and says that no, that you need, there has to be enough light that you can tell the difference between tcheles, blue, likarti, and green. So obviously you need more light, there needs to be more light available outside to differentiate between blue and green. They're much more similar colors, as opposed to blue and white, which are very, very easy to differentiate. Therefore, Rabbi Eliezer says you can't say Shema as early as dawn, but rather you have to wait a little bit more till you're closer to sunrise, where there's or somewhere right before sunrise where there's enough light to tell between similar colors of blue and green. Okay, so now that we've determined the earliest time to say Shema, now we want to know, well, how long can you say Shema until? So Vigomra, and you can finish it. So our case is Vigomra. You can finish saying Shema, meaning what's the latest time you have to say Shema? By what point in time in the morning do you have to say Shema by, in order for it to count for the Shema in the morning? So the answer to that case, the rule in that case is Ad Hanetzachama. You have until sunrise. Hanetzachama, when the sun peeks out, that's sunrise. Okay? That's the first opinion. Again, this opinion is not titled by a specific rabbi, therefore we call it the Tanakama or the Rabbanan. Rabbi Yehoshua Omer, but then once again we have a machlokes, an argument. Rabbi Yeshua says, Ad Shalosh Sha'os. You have until 3 hours into the day. So you don't have to wake up at a ridiculously early time in the morning to say Shema. You have up to 3 hours after sunrise. And these are called Sha'os Zmanios. Hours that are equally divided between sunrise and sunset. For argument's sake, you will learn more about this when you come to Kohelet. Okay, so those are the two opinions. But for this opinion, as we mentioned before, the Mishnah gives us a reason. So what's the reason? Shekain derech b'nei malachim. So we'll circle that. Shekain derech b'nei malachim, since it is the way of the children of kings, la'amod b'shalosh sha'os, to literally stand, but meaning to get up in the morning, by 3 hours, or at that time 3 hours in the day. What that means is that we are Jewish people, and there is, based on a pasuk, we are described as B'nei Malachim. We are all the children of kings. We are all the descendants of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, who had a status of a king. And therefore, since we're royalty, so to speak, we can get up a little later than the more normal people, who at least back then, got up at sunrise to maximize daylight hours to go to work. Therefore, Rabbi Yehoshua says, since we all have this royal status, we can go and say Shema, which should be said when you wake up, at the time when royal people wake up. And that is 3 hours into the day. Okay, now the Mishnah is going to give us one more case, and that is, let's say you missed the time. Let's say you got up late, you slept through your alarm, and you missed the deadline for saying Kriya Shema. So, Hakore Mikan Ve'elech, so anyone who reads from here and onwards, meaning here, the last time you can say Shema for Shacharis, for the morning, and after that, so if I wake up either according to the first opinion, after sunrise, or after 3 hours into the day, so 12 o'clock in the afternoon, according to the second opinion, Rabbi Yeshua's opinion, then what do I do? So the Mishnah says, the rule is, lo hifsid. You don't lose out. Meaning you should say it. It doesn't really count because you didn't get in the proper time. You didn't say Shema within the proper time limit. But it can't hurt to say it. Why? So the Mishnah gives us a reason. Ki adam hakore b'Torah. Because it's just like you're reading from the Torah. There is a mitzvah in the Torah for us to learn every day. So it's just the paragraphs of Shema come straight from Psukim in the Torah. Therefore, even though technically it doesn't count for the mitzvah of saying Shema in the morning, but you should say it anyway because it can't hurt. And that is the Mishnah. So just to review, if you look over here, we have a chart of the three cases the Mishnah discusses and the rules in those cases. So first case over here, is to the earliest time to recite Shema. So the first opinion, the Tana Kama, said that when you can tell the difference between white and blue, that the earliest time is basically dawn, when there's some light that you can tell the difference. Rabbi Eliezer argued and said, no, you have to wait a little longer from the time when there's enough light to tell the difference between blue and green, which you need more light for, closer to sunrise. That is the first case. Second case, latest time to recite Shema. So, the latest time to recite Shema, according to the first opinion, the Tana Kama, the unnamed Tana, is sunrise, Hanei Tzachama. According to Rabbi Yoshua, who argues you don't have to wake up insanely early, you can wait until the third hour. Last case in the Mishnah, okay, let's say you missed it. Let's say your alarm didn't go off and you slept late. So the Tana Kama, again, since there's no specific rabbi attributed to this case, so he says it doesn't count, but you should do it anyway. Why? Because it can't hurt, because you are reading psukim, and that's a wonderful thing to do.